Good morning. I'm going to try it again. Good morning. All right, yes, thank you. My name is Dr. Yvette Richards, and I have the pleasure of serving as the Director of Community Connections and Mission here at St. James and the liaison with the National Summit, working with Strengthening the Black Church for the 21st Century. I am excited that St. James was selected to host this year's stakeholders meeting, and not only that, the Mass Incarceration Social Justice Summit that will be held here in October. As you know, St. James has been the center point for justice for many, many years. And when we received the phone call from Tosca that St. James was selected, I wanted to make sure people knew that we were not selected because Dr. Bowie and Dr. Cleaver were roommates in seminary. I wanted y'all to know we're selected because of the work that we do day in and day out for the least, the lost, the abandoned, and forgotten. I have been a member here since 1986, and I have been blessed to be on staff since 2017. And from the day one that I started, Dr. Cleaver was, I want to make sure that people know that St. James is the place to come when you need a healing, whether that is from domestic violence, human trafficking, social justice, homelessness, whatever thing that ails you, you are able to come to this house to have an opportunity to receive ministry and to receive help. And so we showed that during the pandemic as our doors never closed. Our doors never closed. When the pandemic hit, we were just coming off of the Black Methodist for Church Renewal National Meeting that was held in Kansas City, and the next week we were to shut down the city. But with St. James being a focal point and a place that people know to come for help, we received a call that said, can you feed the littles in the community because the schools are closed? And so we opened our fellowship up from the end of March to August 15th. Every day, Monday through Friday, serving the littles breakfast and lunch. It was a concerted effort with many members, young, old, and seasoned, that made sure that every day the littles in this community were fed. That is why St. James is selected to be the host, because we care about the community, and you're from and in the Show Me State, and we will show you what it means to be the hands and feet of Jesus. Amen? All right, I'm not going to preach. I'm just a lay person. Let me not get started. But the last thing I want to say before I bring up the dynamic Tosca is that several years ago, Just Mercy film came out, and the Strengthening the Black Church had an initiative across the United States to show the film, Just Mercy, and to have dialogue around the book. And so we were blessed to partner with Allies for Racial Justice, which is an organization, a blend of St. James and Church of the Resurrection, and they partnered the Allies for Racial Justice. And so we met at the theater, watched the movie, and then we have some of the stakeholders that are partnering with us to be on a panel to talk about what it means to be wrongly accused, what it means to be in the system. And so from that, we have always stayed in contact with Strengthening the Black Church for the 21st Century, which is the ethnic racial caucus of the United Methodist Church with Black Methodists for Church Renewal. And so with Dr. Bowie's leadership, Dr. Cleaver serving on the board, it was a great fit to fit this puzzle piece in a place where we connect people with God in practical ways. And so with that being said, I want you to know that we are grateful for all of you that answered the email, that are here today. Thank you so very much. We look forward to being in partnership, collaborating with you. And I would like to introduce our prison ministry liaison, which is Robin Boone, who has been working on this behind the scenes for St. James for many years. And I'm so glad that we will be able to take this program to the forefront. So at this time, I would like to introduce you to the brains behind this, and I can say that, the brains behind this, even though she's a Dallas Cowboy fan, she is my sister. Tosca Madlock Lee will be the moderator, but also you will learn more about Tosca as our convener for this summit. I would like to welcome Tosca here to the Super Bowl Kansas City Chiefs.
Oh, see? Listen, I have to remind y'all where the Chiefs started, okay? Let me just let every good thing, start someplace. Has to come out of Texas. It's got to come out of Texas. I am so excited to be in this space and to see all of you. Again, my name is Tosca Madlock Lee, and I serve as the coordinator and director for the SBC 21 Office of Social Justice, Mass Incarceration, and Transformation. And it is a pleasure to be here. Now, we're going to talk a little bit more about the actual National Summit on Mass Incarceration, what that means, why we do it, and how you can, activate with us. But first, we are sitting right dab in the middle of Second Chance Month, also known as National Reentry Month. Dr. Boyd said earlier that 650,000 men and women across this nation are released from prisons and jails every single year, facing a daunting task of reintegrating into society. And so this is a critical juncture where we get an opportunity to support with compassion and to help make a difference for successful reentry. Because while there are 650,000 men and women coming from prison and jail, there's another revolving door of them being recidivism, with recidivism and reinforcing the fact that there are concerns that allows them not to stay out and be free. So for the faith community, which is where we hang our hat, it is important that we help to build safe and loving spaces that aligns with individuals with our deep core principles of forgiveness, redemption, and second chances, because we all need them. So I wanted us to take a pause in this space, because I was telling the table where I was sitting, Pastor Edwards and Dr. Boyd, that we don't ever like to be in spaces like this without hearing the voices of directly impacted people, okay? So I've been impacted by the system of mass incarceration because I've raised two children who are now young adult men with their father being in prison. And so I have been an impacted person in this system and know how difficult and challenging it can be. Because the statistics will tell you that if you have a parent that's incarcerated, then you have a 70% chance yourself to be incarcerated in your lifetime. Can you imagine that? Just because someone went to jail as a parent, then you yourself has a 70% chance to be incarcerated. So it is a cruel system. The incarceral state is ridiculous. And we know all too well that in the United States of America, we lock way too many people up. We just do. So I want to bring up for us to be able to have a conversation with, it's called a second chance conversation. I'd like to bring up Dr. Brian Roper. He's the CEO and founder of One Life Second Chance Incorporated, and SBC 21 long-term partner, Prison Fellowship, Reverend Chris Pipkin, who is our National Church Engagement Manager. Let's give them a round of applause. Each of them will have an opportunity to kind of share their story with you, but I'm just going to start off with you, Dr. Roper, and you guys can have a seat. I'm going to start off with you because I want to be able to ask the question for you to tell, because this summit, when we go into deeper about the summit is about how we're going to engage community, and specifically the faith community, on how to create those spaces to help our brothers and sisters and families who are impacted by incarceration, how we go deeper in doing that. Can you talk to us a little bit, Dr. Roper, just about your organization and why the faith community has been instrumental for the work that you do.
Okay, so first of all, I am one of those impacted people. I served 15 years in the Missouri Department of Corrections from 1999 to 2014. So I began my organization in 2018 after receiving my master's degree from Colorado Tech. And during that process, I realized that I was the exception to the rule instead of the rule. And faith came from my father, who was very instrumental in the community, had youth programs to kind of prevent the pipeline from education to prison. And so I'm just really a seed and a continuation of the work my father already began.
And Pastor Pipkin, because I know that Dr. Roper is going to share more, but Pastor Pipkin, and I've been knowing him for probably over 10 years, but I will say this, is that Prison Fellowship has been one of the most consistent partners of the United Methodist Strengthening the Black Church for the 21st Century. Our very first national summit was in Wichita, Kansas in 2013, and they were there. And the work and the commitment that Prison Fellowship has and the various changes that the organization has gone through, how has you, being an impacted person, helped shape your work and your work with the local church?
Well, that's a good question. I actually graduated one of the prison fellowship programs. Went to prison in 1987. Got out in 1992. And upon my release, given my life to the Lord and was excited about the things of God, but I ended up going back to the same community where I offended. The church was there, and they just wanted to pray it away. They wanted to lay hands on me, but I had some things that were going on. Went back to prison, went through a prison fellowship program, and got some foundation. Connected with churches who were doing the things. And so Prison Fellowship gave me an opportunity at life, and they have put some skin in the game by employing me. And the thing that grabbed me the most is, how do we bring about the awareness that it's more than just prayer and preaching on Sundays? So the churches that partner with Prison Fellowship actually get a chance to see a glimpse of what God can do through the hands and feet of the church.
All right, I want you to welcome Dr. Brian Roper to the podium.
Thank you, and what time is it? Still good morning. So One Life Second Chance is not just a reentry program. I think reentry is too small of a word for the work that must be done. We have to reintegrate, and sometimes we shouldn't even put the re in front of it. We should say we're integrating and acclimating, because the truth of the matter is our largest incarcerated population is between 18 to 25, and they stay till they're about 45. So they get locked up young and they stay there for a very long period of time. These people have not had the opportunity to even integrate into society, and the expectation is that they'll be able to live in society like a normal human being after being incarcerated. So having served 15 years, I said, well, what was some of the things that impacted me, right? Socialization. Can I communicate with a person who has no idea what it's like to be in war every day of their life? Notice I said war, because I believe that every inmate across the United States is a prisoner of war. We declared war on crime, we declared a war on drugs, and what that really means is we declared a war on the people who commit crime and a war on people who are involved in drug behavior. These are people. And anytime you take a person as a prisoner, they become a prisoner of war. Their environment in which they live, and when I did my dissertation, I thought it was really, God moved me to do it on the Missouri reentry process from the perspective of former offenders. So I got to go across the state of Missouri and learn about people's lived experience in the Department of Corrections, what programs they took, and how it impacted them after their release. Overwhelmingly, I could have stopped it was qualitative research, which means I just interview people. I could have stopped my research after about the first 5 because I wasn't getting any new data. 0% said the Missouri reentry process was effective. 0% said it made an impact in their lives. 0%. So we dug a little bit in that because we're getting these numbers. I said, well, why 0%? And overwhelmingly, the answer was because the Missouri reentry process stops at the doors of prison. Meaning they took the programs, but when they were released, there was no further assistance. Why? Because the state typically does not use the resources of nonprofits. They want to have some type of control in the programming that's available. The problem with that is we know from research that faith-based organizations are the number one in preventing recidivism. When we connect spirituality to socialization, to economics, to education, we develop and produce citizens who can now acclimate and live amongst society as free beings, right? And so this is what my organization was about. It's about how do we get people to socialize right? What does that mean? What does correct socialization look like for somebody who's been incarcerated like myself for 15 years, who might not have gone into prison with an education? What does it mean for somebody who's looking for gainful employment? What tools do they need to be successful? And so that's what we began to vet out. And what we found is that we created a program called Seize Freedom, which stands for social, economical, educational, and spiritual freedom. And what we realized, if we work in those key environments, that we will guide people to a easier transition, easier. But we also recognize that decedents or the stopping of crime does not happen necessarily because they were locked up one time, right? Because what happens in Missouri, I'm gonna tell the truth. I'm in church, so I can, just tell the truth. So when we look at recidivism rates for the state of Missouri, 44.9% will recidivate after 3 years. They act like that's a good number. What they fail to tell us is that 50% will recidivate after 5 years. And then if you continue on and stretch that out to a 9-year period, what you have is about a recidivism rate of 83%. So that tells me the system's failing, not individuals. If the vast majority of people are returned to prison, then your system's broke. Why is it broke? Because they don't reach out to the stakeholders. They don't reach out to the people who have boots on the ground. They don't put their interest in people who have skin in the game. All of us are here on a weekday during lunch period, some of us missing our normal assigned work duties, to talk about this thing called justice in America. Well, then we have to start looking at definitions of justice. Justice in America, defined by Black Law Dictionary, just means that you'll be treated fairly according to the law. And the definition goes on to say, even if the law is unfair. So we fight a battle on two fronts. We have to fight a battle of what we're going to do to help the person when they come out of prison, right? But we also have to fight a battle on what are we going to do to change the policies and procedures within the system. So my job, and what I hope to do, and I keep it very small, I only accept people who are volunteering to come to a program, because forced rehabilitation does not work. If it worked, we would have 0 recidivism rate, because Every Missouri State inmate is forced, if they have no education, to go to a GED class or high school equivalency. They're forced to attend certain programs before they're released, usually some type of cognitive behavior therapy. So if they've taken these things, then why is it not effective? Partially because we don't tell the public, hey, we fixed them. Secondly, we don't provide them a place to stay after they've been fixed and released. A story real quickly, I used to be able to tell when a person was coming back to prison. I could see them being released. I said, he'll be back. And I could always tell this by where they were going. So what are you going to do when you get out? I'm going back to mama's house. The same house you got locked up from? Yes, I don't have any other place to go. I'll see you when you get back. Sad to say, oftentimes too true. So as stakeholders, what does that mean we have to do? It means that we have to diligently work towards changing systematically what happens in the state of Missouri. That means we can't sit inside bubbles and not network. That means we can't fight over the dollars. I know nonprofits, we have to fight over the dollars. But we can't fight over the dollars in a way is, this is just me. We have to share our resources and pool together so that we can actually stymie the problem of not only incarceration, but reincarceration. 19,000 inmates are released from Missouri every year. If you do the math, at 50% at 5 years, that means 9,000 people are going back to prison. That's a broken system. So that's what we do at One Life Second Chance. It's tried to break the break in the system and fill that gap. So just if you're involved in it, keep going, keep working, keep striving, keep doing what you need to do, because if one person, if I can be a success story, then other people can. I get emotional because I just had somebody call me who served 15 years and is graduating from Morehouse College in May. He's doing so because he said, Roper, you showed me that it can be done. We have to continue showing it can be done. Thank you.
So if you were wondering why you're here, that's why you're here. The stakeholders in this room is critical to the success of other young men, just like you just described. And can you imagine the population of young people between 18 and 25 years old? That's when they're being locked up for an average of 20 years, and they don't see the day of light of freedom until they're 40 and 45 years old, and reintegrating into community, and how frightening that can be. How frightening it is for a kid to get locked up at 18 and then to come out and you're 35, 40 years old. So the stakeholder luncheon, the stakeholder opportunity is what Dr. Roper just described, is that we can link arms together and begin to look at issues that we can solve together. Maybe not the same issue. You may be on the advocacy side, or you may be on the side of law, or you may be on the direct service side. But the reality of it is that we could be in one room just like this so that we could hold each other up. I'm gonna ask the AV team to show a video, and because this is an inspiring video that I'd like for you all to see. Are we ready? Let's take a look at this video.
Second chances, they're the heartbeat of the gospel. And the second chances given to me are the reason I'm here today.
This is Jermaine Wilson. He's the mayor of Leavenworth.
Hey man, how you doing? Growing up, I was exposed to crime at an early age. I began to use drugs so I can hang out with the older kids. My dad had been to prison. My siblings had been to prison. With my drug use and criminal activities, I also ended up in prison. While I was in my prison cell, room 507, I cried out to God. I said, Lord, I need you in my life. And I had a son who needed his father. He was 8 months old. I accepted Christ and I became free. The prison fellowship program helped me and taught me to unlearn those negative things that I had learned. Angel Tree was able to come beside me and provide a gift to my son.
Angel Tree helped him to be there kind of in a physical sense, even though he wasn't able to be. It just helped us know that he was still a part, and it meant a lot for him as a dad.
When I was released from prison, I faced two main challenges that every returning citizen faces: housing and employment. Landlords wouldn't rent to me because I had a criminal record. Employers didn't hire me because I had a criminal record. Trying to obtain my driver's license was challenging as well. I eventually found a job an hour away from my house, but when my rod fell through one time, I was fired on the spot. Even though I paid my debt to society, it felt like I was still serving time. The church, it became my re-entry. I'll never forget when I walked in the sanctuary, church members, they embraced me. It was the love that they shared with me that made me feel welcome. They didn't look at my past or criminal record. They seen the person that I was at that moment, and they wanted to support and help me.
Love you, man.
I love you too. My church gave me a job cutting grass. Cutting grass taught me how to serve and meet the needs of people. So when the door opened up for me to get involved in politics, I already understood the goal is to serve people first. And now I am the mayor of Leavenworth, Kansas.
No, I didn't see you becoming mayor. Did not see that coming. But I knew God had a call on your life. And I knew that you had a love to serve people. And when God said it, you just went with what God said. You knew in your heart that's what God said.
The moment I gave my life to Christ and became who God called me to be, that's when I began to succeed. Power of the second chance. That is true redemption. That is true transformation. Church, let's be a safe place for those who need a second chance and for families impacted by incarceration. Let's offer welcome and acceptance from a listening ear to practical help. Together, we can be the beginning of someone's second chance.
You know, I'm excited about, the partnership that we have with SBC 21. And the excitement is because SBC 21 goes across the country to unite churches, to bring about the awareness and boots on the ground. And so often we overlook so many things. I know this, that if an urgent plea goes out to 2 people, you might get 100% response. If it goes out to 10 people, you might get a 50% response. If it goes out to 100 people, you might get a 20% response. And that's because we want to make the issues somebody else's responsibility. We talk about it, but we push their responsibility on to other people. Well, the thing about the partnership with Prison Fellowship and SBC 21 is that we come together. Who do you know? Who do you know? And we try to find people who are doing things to help engage others into doing things. There's a lot of stuff going there, and there's the statistics that we heard from Dr. Roper. 1 in 3 Americans have been impacted by crime and incarceration. And so if you just look at your table, you count 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And because it doesn't directly impact us, we turn a blind eye to it. Real quick. And I thank God for my dear friend, Pastor Edwards. I reached out to him years ago about Angel Tree. And so Angel Tree is one of the low-hanging fruit. And we think about it only as a Christmas gift. but Angel Tree is actually access into the family and giving that family access into the church. Because when we get to talk about Angel Tree, a lot of those Angel Tree kids are being supported by grandparents or auntie and them, right? And they don't go to church. Why? Because of the stigma. Because the church, we have silently put up this barrier, and we have a tendency to shy away from those things that we feel like we're going to be judged for, right? And so when we can engage the family, then we can impact the incarcerated parent. What good does it do to create a opportunity for a family to get spiritual guidance without the incarcerated parent? Because they're coming home. 95% of the people that are incarcerated are coming home. It's not our problem, but it's our reality. From 1978 to 2001, I was in and out of somebody's jail or prison. And so you think, if you had seen my record, and Dr. Bowie, a great friend of mine, that's my uncle in the ministry, y'all. He's too young to be my father in the ministry, so he's my uncle in the ministry. But when we look at, the dynamics, and we stop for a moment to say, how do I impact? We have been mandated. We have been mandated by the Word of God to do something. And so when Dr. Bowie met me, and he'll tell you, I was on the FBI's most wanted list. And he didn't know me then, but he knew me now. So when I told him that, so what I'm saying is, we don't know what a formerly incarcerated person looks like. But we have this thing that you're free, go get a job. So if it had not been for not just a second chance, another chance. So now I've been serving with Prison Fellowship now for 16 years and pastoring a church for 18 years. But if you had looked at my resume then, you would have disqualified me. Oh, yeah. I think Dr. Cleaver is my cousin, and we don't. But because I'm not gonna go Baptist on y'all today. But we won't close several times. But the point I want to drive home is that we are in a space now. We're in a place where we have to get serious about second chances. And the thing that I can tell you about the partnership with SBC 21 is you will, I promise you, without fail, walk away knowing something that you didn't know before you got there. It's not about the knowledge, but it's about the how to, when to, and who to. And so I take great pleasure in standing before you, and I wish I could give you the whole story, but just know this, that it's through the partnerships and the connections that are made in these relationships that we get to use and impact. Because not one person in here can do it all, but collectively we can get it all done.
Amen. Let's give both Pastor Chris Pipkin and Dr. Roper a round of applause. Thank you guys so much. Thank you all so much for being here. And Pastor Pipkin, I'm so glad you didn't go through your PowerPoint. She had a cue for you, but I'm like, ooh, it was a lot of slides. So we're gonna move inside your packet. You probably have already read the press release, and you know that SBC 21 in St. James is teaming up to bring the National Summit on Mass Incarceration and Social Justice here in Kansas City, October the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th. October the 2nd is what we call a pre-summit intensive, and October 3rd through the 5th is the actual summit. There's another video that I want you to take a look at. Before we cue that video and get that started, every other year, the United Methodist SBC 21, we started this ecumenical work in 2013. And as I mentioned earlier, our first city was Wichita, Kansas. And since that time, we've been in Nashville, Tennessee. We've been in Compton, California. We've been in North Carolina. We've been in Texas, and now every other year. So this is our 6th summit that we'll have here in October here in Kansas City, Missouri, and we are definitely excited about coming to the Show Me State. And this luncheon today literally is about collaborating and bringing stakeholders together, because we believe that when we create these opportunities and come into these markets, we want people at the table with us helping to design what this conference can look like, so that we can invite our stakeholders from all over the country to come to Kansas City to learn some of your best practices, to learn how you are working with your lawmakers, and to learn the various things that we can probably take back and go with. In Dallas, one of the things that Compton, California, a team from Compton, California came, and they learned in Dallas there's an organization called the Dallas Leadership Foundation that worked with the state lawmakers to make one of their state prisons a faith-based jail, which meant that they collaborated with churches and organizations all over, and they gave them a dorm in the state jail, and they literally ran that jail. And to your point, Dr. Roper, the persons who volunteered to want to be in the faith-based jail, they had a less of a recidivism rate than the others that were not in. One of the organizations found that there was significant housing challenges. And so one of our local churches in Compton, California is now in a housing project building houses for second chance individuals. So as Pastor Chris said, that there's something that you're gonna learn, there's something that we're gonna learn from you. And more importantly, what we have always found is that it's people that are around these tables that you're sitting next to that you probably hadn't seen in 6 months or 5 months or what have you, and you're all together. And so the thing that we hope to do is create a design team of people that you may have an office with, that you know that's in the city, but that y'all just don't get together for coffee. And so we'll plan this conference together, and then when we leave and go to our next place, you all will still be together making impact and making a difference. So that's what excites us about the type of work we would do at the National Summit. I want you to take a look at a highlight video reel, and it'll give you just an idea of some of the things that we do over the 2.5 days that we're together. You can roll the video. So the summit is a 2.5-day event that is inspiring teaching, national networking. You saw that. We have had Andrew Young. We've had Dr. Freddie Haynes. We've had pastors and leaders and thought leaders all over that have come to be a part of it. What we aim to do is to empower and encourage and equip those who work in the area of mass incarceration, restorative justice, reentry, and family outreach. And so we take 2.5 days to do some teaching and demonstration around that. We've gone inside prisons while we have been together. We've had some of the jails and prisons to do furloughs for persons to have panels with us. When we were in Nashville, Tennessee, we were at Christ Cathedral, Church of God in Christ, who hosted us. And during that year, we were able to get the warden from one of the women's jails to allow women to open up our conference. And so we started our conference out because that year we were focusing on women and the injustices within jails that were being experienced by women. And so we were really blessed to hear directly from women who were currently incarcerated that simply shared with us how they got there. And you would be amazed at the stories of the women who are in prison in terms of how they got there. Why are you here? And we heard all kinds of stories. There was a woman there who was a first lady in the United Methodist Church. And she was in prison, and she got there because she was working for a pharmaceutical company, and her husband was making very minimal wages as a pastor. And they needed money, and she started selling the drugs from the pharmacy, and that's how she got to prison. We had one woman who was a dancer on Broadway, and she got injured on Broadway, and she got addicted to painkillers, and that's how she got in prison. And so the stories are amazing, and so it was an opportunity for us to be centered about our why. So we also have a pre-summit. A pre-summit is a day before the summit. Usually it's in the evening time. We've had elected officials to come in and to share what legislation is coming up, what's on the table, what the advocacy should be, how the faith community can be engaged. And so that's what that is about. All of those who are participating will learn cutting-edge strategies, they'll learn best practices, and they'll just learn the ways in which you can make a difference. And so whether you're a new beginner and you're the ABCs in terms of how I need to get started at what I do, or if you are on the move and doing some innovative things, we want to hear your strategies and your best practices. Who should attend? Not only everyone in this room, but anybody you know that has been, our community has been impacted by the incarceral system. And so everyone should have an interest in this. But more specifically, every year we develop a focus, and sometimes we partner with local school districts. And we've done days where we've done these seminars what every educator should know about the school to prison pipeline. And so we've done those types of things. And so you'll see that in there. Some of the highlights that you could expect during the summit is obviously luncheons and the various plenary sessions. But most importantly, we take the opportunity for you to tell us who should be celebrated in this market that is doing the effective work of social justice in prison ministry. And so we do something that's called the SBC 21 Impact Awards. And so we'll be talking to the committee, the design team, about who's doing that work. Some of the special features that we really, really want, and Dr. Yvette will talk about this with our partners, is that one of the things that we heard is that housing could be an issue. You know, should we look and invite individuals who own housing to come and, have a housing fair? Do we need to look at expunging records? Are there attorneys that are out there that we can show churches how to do expungement clinics? We've developed toolkits behind that. Should we have a resource fair in terms of how to develop a resume, or health fair, those types of things? How do you get your license when you get out of jail? So it's a number of things that we want to be able to feature, for the community, for faith communities. But most importantly, and I just want to say this to pastors, and I'm going to bring up Dr. Richards, but it is a space with clergy leadership where you just got to know the impact that this system is having on people. And whether or not you become, the church for prison ministry or social justice, but the reality of it is that everyone in your congregation has someone likely to have someone that's impacted, that has a family member or someone that's in prison. Every year we go to a graduation that the Potter's House has in Dallas. They have a reentry program called the Tory program, and they do a reentry graduation. And every single year, Bishop T.D. Jakes asks his congregation, if you have someone that's in prison, or a loved one, or someone that you know that's in prison, would you please stand? And inevitably, nearly the entire congregation stands. And my question to you right now is, do you have someone, or do you know someone that's locked up or that's been locked up? If you do, just raise your hand. And the bottom line to all of this is that I just remember vividly when my children's father was locked up. And I remember feeling like I could not tell anybody in the church. I remember reverting to that cultural habit as black folks that say, what goes on in this house stays in this house. How many of you know what I'm talking about? Come on now. What goes on this house stays in this house. And I remember when the first fight that my kids had in their little Catholic school, they beat up somebody because they said that this is what's going to happen to your dad while he's in prison. And they got into a fight, you know, and part of when we had our conversation was that, you know, you're not ever talking about it. You're walking around like nothing has happened, and, you know, and that made me realize that I have created this whole shame space for my kids. And I think that the church unintentionally creates spaces of shame. And so that's why I'm so passionate about this work. That's why I'm engaged in this work. I have had the ability to really navigate with families and women, you know, who are raising children, and moms who are raising children through incarceration. And so I'm just so thankful that you all took the time out to come to hear not only about the awareness of Second Chance Month, but about what this National Summit is all about. And so I simply want to leave you with an invitation to join us to design a dynamic 2.5 days for October 2024 that will be right here at St. James, so that we can ensure that we can show the nation that we are really about making sure that we do this. And I understand that we already have some partners. So Dr. Richards, if you would come on board, if you have any questions, we're going to be available to answer those questions as soon as she finishes. Thank you.
Thank you, Tosca. See, people don't think that you can be friends with people in Texas. We love Texas. We love Texas. But yes, so thank you first of all to SBC 21, Dr. Michael Bowie, Tosca, and the team, Prison Summit. But thank you for those that are here today. We have a crisis, and I believe now is the time that the focus is on the middle and the heartbeat of America, which resides here in Kansas City. Thank you to Dr. Cleaver being on staff. I'm sure he closes his doors when he sees me coming by, because it's one more thing that he has to attend. But my pastor is passionate about social justice. And when you have a pastor who is passionate about that, it is not hard to get him involved and to say yes when now we are hosting the National Prison Summit in October. But I'm glad that through my 40 years almost in Kansas City, I've met some friends. And I have tagged you guys and asked you from the beginning, would you be one of our National Summit partners? First and foremost, the Missouri Annual Conference, in which St. James sits in, I reached out to our Mission, Justice, and Service team. Sydney Everhart is here. If you'll please stand, Sydney. Sydney and Lucas Endicott from the Missouri Annual Conference, Mission, Justice, and Service were my first partners. They provide what we use and do is called ShareFest Festival Sharing, which is unique to Missouri, where we have different agencies and organizations throughout the state that need help. And so we have what is called Share Fest, where there's 12 items that you can order like out of a catalog. You get those items, but one particular one that is going to be key to us is the work that we do around prison. And so they've already been doing the work. Sydney has already been doing the work, so we are grateful that they will be one of our key partners. So thank you very much, Sydney. Black Methodist for Church Renewal, which is a extension to SBC 21. We're excited that they will be a partner. We also have with us Senator Barbara Ann Washington. She is not able to be here today, but she has already agreed to be a partner. St. James Church and our ministry liaison, Robin Boone, if you please stand, Robin. Robin has been sharing the load of our prison ministry here at St. James for several years and has already put a team together of those that she worked with in the jails already and will be our representative. Thank you. One of the boards that I was blessed to be on by Sister Rose, who is here, and if the team for Center for Conflict Resolution, will you please stand if you're with the Center for Conflict Resolution? They have been doing this work in the city, in the schools, and in the prison. So we look forward to working with them and collaborating with them. Dr. Roper and I had the pleasure of serving on the board. Dr. Roper still serves on the board. So we look forward to that. They have a wealth of knowledge, a wealth of contacts, and Greg, who is here, wave your hand, Greg, who has been in the trenches for many, many years. So we're grateful that he is going to allow us to impart some of the knowledge. Judge Lisa Hardwick. Judge Hardwick was our moderator for our Just Mercy event that we had at the theater. She is Brian Stevenson's college mate from law school. So, but not only that, is Judge Hardwick has worked in this area and programs to ensure justice. So we're excited that she is a stakeholder. As I said earlier, St. James United Methodist Church on the Missouri side and Church of the Resurrection on the Kansas side formed a group called Allies for Racial Justice, formed by Dr. Emanuel Cleaver and Reverend Adam Hamilton. And this group has been very instrumental in talking about race relations, race issues. And so we do have some representatives from Allies for Racial Justice team. If you're on the Allies for Racial Justice team, will you please stand? And we have with us Roosevelt Braxton, Captain, Commander Roosevelt Braxton, with St. James and the United Methodist Men, along with the Allies for Racial Justice. And then we have our local unit of United Women in Faith with our Social Justice Chair, Fairlyn Coates, if you'll please stand, and other members of the United Methodist Women that are here. As you know, the mass incarceration has been a key focus of United Women in Faith, and our national office has been a partner with TSCA and Strengthening the Black Church for many years. So they will be a national partner, but we're glad our local unit will also be involved. One of the partners here at St. James is Creative Innovative, and that is led by CEO and founder Anton Washington. If you'll please stand. Anton has been a partner in regards to finding housing for those that have come out of incarceration, those that are sleeping on the street. And when I say boots on the ground, I mean that. I can call him and give him information, and next thing I know, he's showing up with toiletry items, with blankets, with clothing for people that have been released from prison and have no place to stay, and they're sleeping on the street. And what elevated our friendship was on 18th and Cleveland, where the man wanted to stay warm. He made a little fire under the bridge, and the bridge area backfired on him and caught himself on fire, and he was killed. And from that day forward, Anton and I swore, and I say that any time that we see an area that needs attention, him and his team will get on it, and they have done that. Behind my house, there's a person and a family living in a abandoned trailer. And we had called the city, thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, and Anton went out there, spoke with them. They had a 5-year-old living in the trailer. And when I say next day action, next day they were moved, we got the trailers moved. So we have been doing the work, and we have a great partner in Creative Innovative, and so we're so welcome. We're so glad that you're with us. Thank you. I have 2 more. Next is Dr. Nicole Price, who is here. Dr. Nicole, will you please stand up, please? You might have just seen her. She just did a TED Talk at Morehouse College. She is on the circuit, but her organization is called Lively Paradox. Her book is called Spark the Heart, Engineering Empathy in Your Organization. And you guys are probably like, you need to read it to understand. She is an engineer, a graduate of North Carolina State University, and that's not why I picked her, because she's an alumni or a wonderful AKA, that's not why. But her story that she will be able to tell about her life-altering event when her mother was murdered, and how this book put into context what it means to have empathy. Powerful, powerful. And last but not least, I would like to invite up to the podium at this time just to provide us a few words, as she will be a major sponsor. It is our own Mayor Pro Tem, Raina Parks Shaw.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much. It's an honor to be here today. Well, first of all, this is my home church, so I know I'm home. But you know how you walk into a room and just you feel the energy and the love and compassion. And I feel that in this room, because I know we have a room of people that are here to do the work of God, the work of the people that will really move Kansas City and the nation in a way that we need to for our individuals, our community, who unfortunately are being incarcerated far too many times. And so I just want to just acknowledge that, because, as you would assume, as a Mayor Pro Tem, I'm supposed to be at 2 other places right now. And so many times in the rush of me running back and forth, sometimes I miss that, but I felt it when because I had to run and go chair another meeting, and came back in, and I don't know, I just felt so much warmth and the connection in this room. I just needed to just acknowledge that. And so I want to thank you all for giving me the opportunity to speak briefly today. But I, as the council member, 5th District Councilwoman for Kansas City, it is important, as we are the largest African-American district in the city now. And we know that far too many of our individuals, far too many of our babies, our people are impacted by the violence that we are seeing here in Kansas City, which really was the impetus behind my work now with multiple organizations, which she has mentioned here already. And in the opportunity for me to leverage this position as the councilwoman, I've had the opportunity to work with of course, my friend Anton Washington and Creative Innovative, and I see she has left the room, I think, Candace Wesson with the Help KC, and they have really educated me on what it's like for individuals coming back into Kansas City, returning to Kansas City after they have been incarcerated. And in that work, really, I didn't realize how tough it would be. But I've learned through even Second Chance organization also took me through a simulation, many of my colleagues through a simulation, so that we could see the struggles and challenges that a person would have, when they've served their time, They now are trying to come back and get their life back on track, and the challenges that they have. And so with that is really what inspires me and fuels me to move forward. So I'm honored to be sponsor and support of this, of the summit that you're putting together in the fall. But also I want to talk just a little bit about what City Council is doing to try to address the root causes. Some of you, I'm sure, are aware of the $30 million for violence prevention that the city supported. I was proud to lead that initiative last year. We are also have done several expungement clinics, but most recently, the council approved a initiative called KC Reach. It is a pre-arrest diversion program that will allow us to, for individuals to call 311 instead of 911, with the hope that those individuals who know that we know that they need additional help and support, maybe for mental health services or substance abuse, or maybe they're unhoused, individuals can call 311 and receive support and care from the community instead of going to jail. And so that is a program that the council just appropriated $1.2 million in the budget that will go into effect May 1st, But also we appropriated another $500,000 for housing to assist individuals. And it is my expectation that, and I'm saying this because I know that there are individuals in the room that probably need access to that money. So I want to make sure that you all know that that is an additional $500,000 that we will have available for individuals. So if you are familiar or aware of individuals that are returning to our community that need assistance with funds or housing, that these are some transitional dollars that we could use for those individuals. But with that, there's a lot of opportunity for us. While we're making small strides, we know there's a lot more work that we need to do in Kansas City. So my office stands available to provide support and resources to you. So please feel free to reach out to me if I can be of any assistance until I'm done. So even after October, when God says it's time for you to be done in City Hall, please call me because I'm committed to doing the work. Because I really believe that with us working together, we can accomplish what we need and what our community needs, so that we can see a better Kansas City. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mayor Pro Tem Rainer Shaw. Park Shaw. I have her assistant cell number, so that's how close we are now. They're like, just call my on that. But I do want to now turn it back over to Tosca, but I do want to say for everyone here in the room, if you want to be a part of the planning of this fantastic event that will shape the future for those in need, please, afterwards, don't leave quickly. We need to get your name and your email address, because starting in May, we will have our first meeting, and they will be by Zoom, and they'll be on Tuesday evening, so clear your calendar. I am on staff here, so if you ever need to reach me and just have a question to see how you can engage, you can reach me at 816-802-8234, which is my direct number, or as on Sunday, I say your second favorite number, 816-444-5588. God bless you.
As we prepare to leave, I'm going to invite Dr. Cleaver back up to just offer us some closing remarks. And as on his way, we need your support. We need you to covenant with us on this project as we prepare to come back. And, who do you know that can be a great speaker? What keynote speakers do we want? We're going to find somebody to go get us Brian Stevenson. Just those types of things. Who would we like to have so that we can make this an amazing national event? Mayor Pro Tem, I want you to know that Dr. Bowie and I said the same thing when we came in here about how we felt. I mean, just even yesterday, we have just been feeling really good about the space, about the spirit, and now about the compassion of each and every one of you. So there is a spirit in this place, and I want to thank Dr. Yvette Richards, because I believe that you really set that up. So let's give her a round of applause. Thank you so much. You'll probably be hearing more from her than myself, but we will drive together. And I think I found someone, Dr. Boyd, that drives a tougher ship than I do. So, so I'm so excited that we're coming back, and we'll probably be back before October. I know that I will be back in the city before October. But Dr. Cleaver, come on up. I'm sorry.
I would be remiss if I didn't say thank you to our hospitality team. Two of them are still here. The ladies that greet you, that's one of the things that we want to make people feel welcome. So I'd like to thank my hospitality team.
So again, I want to thank Strengthening the Black Church for the 21st Century for putting this on and for the event in October, and thank all of you all for participating and joining. I pray that you'll continue the effort because, as I said at the beginning, this is a very important thing. So thanks for being here, and let's close with the word of prayer. Merciful, loving, and holy God, we give you thanks for this day. We thank you for your goodness and mercy. And we thank you, O Lord, that you have created us in your image. All of your people are created in your image. We give you thanks for those who care, and we thank you for the vision to move forward with this summit. We ask that you bless our efforts so that what we do truly glorifies you. In the name of Jesus we pray, amen.
And I do realize that we skipped over the Q&A, so Dr. Richards and I will be right here. So if there's any questions, just let us know. We'll be right here.